Test 1, 2, we're good. I'm about to head to Banff for Real Broker Canada's first event, and we're calling it the Summit. It's at the Banff Springs Hotel in one of the most coveted locations in the world. So this is incredibly exciting for me because this is now a chance where I get to get together with all of those people I've spoken about that have transitioned their brokerages over like me. I'm going to be sitting them down. I want to hear from them. I want to share this information with you about what it's been like to transition, because we're all coming from different places, all different problems. And I'm going to capture this for us so we can kind of share unfiltered kind of what it's been like to move their worlds over to Real Broker like it's been mine. To give you a short rundown of who I am and why I'm doing this is we ran an independent brokerage here in Calgary, Alberta for 13 years. We founded it in 2009. And then in August 2021, we decided to make a change. This change was going to kind of put everything at risk that we had built together, my business partner, Brent and I, for over a decade. But something was changing. The industry was changing. And I had to ask myself, is Redline Real Estate still the best place for realtors? Is it still the best place where if I looked around our competition, would they thrive here? Could they evolve and take advantage of the opportunities that are happening in the industry? But I humbly answered that year in 2021 that we no longer were. And ultimately, we stumbled upon a decision that was in front of us to forego being independent and to partner with an evolving cloud-based brokerage that was about to enter our market, and that was Real Broker. That decision wasn't going to be just a me decision. So what a lot of people don't know is we reached out to say about the top 25 agents within our network. At this point, we had 75 realtors at our firm. I presented the opportunity that Redline would then transition over to Real Broker. To my surprise, maybe, or to my delight, we left that room empowered, because the concept of being a part of the evolution of the real estate industry and empowering agents to have more than they could under the traditional model, it was at that point that I had the mission to go speak with Tamir, our CEO.
I think that what I mostly remember is the fear. Like, because you were running a business, you knew exactly what was going on. Like, you had everything under control, and then all of a sudden, okay, I'm contemplating that switch, and I don't know how it's gonna look like the day after. So I remember that quite vividly. But I think that, I don't know if we did a good job at kind of explaining to you like how things will look like afterwards, or just alleviating that fear of losing control.
It was so scary to consider it, and there was no real proof yet. We ended up successfully transitioning 73 of the 75 agents that were with us. 97% of those agents came with us and shared in this vision. That spoke volumes about the belief of what Real Broker could do for them.
Now it's a different story, because we had so many other examples of independent brokerages who switched over, and if someone's contemplating joining Real, they have so many people to talk to that went through the exact exercise and transformation. So obviously it has become easier, but you have to start somewhere.
So tell us about Franco.
Franco.
Yeah, I'm Franco Maioni from Edmonton, Alberta.
Franco was an independent brokerage owner. He had created a cool little brand called
Vima Realty back in 2020. It was a long time dream of mine to do that. And so I had it from, when was it? March of 2020 up until September of 2022.
But like many of us, at different levels of the rung as we're growing our businesses, ran into problems.
You know, every element of running a brokerage is, very unique and very different than, running a just a real estate team. You've got a lot more people to manage, in the conveyancing side. All of the, with the Real Estate Council of Alberta, keeping up to date with every change, everything that's being introduced. And it was really, really challenging at times, but
There was a moment with Franco and I that he had made the decision to come to Real.
when I realized that you can bring your brand with you, that was something that blew me away.
Again, safe to say, Franco at this point in time, I believe he is at least...
About 3.5 times since we started, yeah.
So, I mean, that's very hard to do as an independent. We've been there struggling to grow and to compete against the big brands. And here we are, playing to our strengths.
Exactly.
Loving what we're doing. And with a whole new group set of people with this endless list of upside, right?
So once you take their minds away from what am I giving up, and you actually explain to them, yes, you might be giving up this, but look at all of those things that you will be gaining, and we will take away some of the liability from you, some of the operations from you, then it starts to make sense for them.
Right. And there was no real proof yet. But as you said, as we've been marching forward, it's proof after proof, right? Not just promise, like you share a lot. How has the conversation evolved now? And Sharon, you're in a lot of these conversations now.
There's this concept of agent centricity, right? And what a broker owner does is they're so agent centric. They're like, hey, we have this independent brand. We have control over the process. You can come to me for anything. I know the answer to everything, which is true. And so there's a sense of safety for all the agents that are part of it, and a sense of not only control, but contribution for you, because you know that no matter what question you get the right answer back. But to switch from an agent-centric model to an entrepreneur-centric model was the most powerful switch.
What about Jeremy?
Jeremy's a character.
Test. Little mic check, 1, 2. All right, my name is Jeremy Amiet, and I'm in Edmonton, Alberta. We had an opportunity to take a brand that already existed and create something new and different. It was an opportunity to stand out and to have exclusivity of a brand within the city.
And that was going to be his differentiating factor in his market. You do this because you've had incredible success as an individual leader, which he has, where you wanted to take it beyond your own sales again and build a business that could maybe be sellable or, again, provide you income aside from just being in the trenches, helping buyers and sellers. With that comes, again, more problems.
We didn't want to be pigeonholed just as luxury agents, because I truly believe I'm in the people business. The challenge we had was they were a little too protective of the brand. And in real estate, what we know is beyond a shadow of a doubt is that you are your brand. You are the brand. And what it did was it actually alienated the average price point buyers. I think we were leaving something out on the table.
And he was looking for something, I guess, where he could take the next step and then go back and play to his strengths, which was driving incredible income with his incredibly powerful sales team.
What's super forward thinking about Real Broker is that they understand the agent is who they're servicing, right? And let the agent, when you can do a good job of that and get out of their way and make life easier for them in so many other ways, they can go out and do a great job for their clients.
That's an interesting take on it. And again, the box was there to probably attempt to bring value, but it was restraining in its own breath.
Right. So what I did not mention was when I knew that I was leaving the last company, I didn't know about Real Broker. My plan was actually to start my own brokerage, but I didn't want to be a broker owner because I wanted the freedom and flexibility, but I didn't want the liability, the extra, just all of the headaches that come with it. Right. And so when, running into Real Broker was like this perfect marriage of having all of the benefits of owning your own brokerage without any of the downsides, right? It's like, what's more perfect than that?
And why this is important, because many of us who build brands, who purchase franchises and go down this independent brokerage route, do so to get control, do so to create a business, to do and create something that is beyond your sales.
And when we mapped out, we found there were like 4 big Lego blocks. Lego block number 1 was, how do you deal with the brand? So could you keep your brand? Lego block number 2 was, how do you integrate your model? Because the last thing you want to do is go back to your agents and say, hey, you're on X economic model, we have to switch to Y, and then that instantly causes pain. The third is stability and control, right? Which is, how can you have your cake and eat it too? How can you still be involved but still lean on the resources of the firm? And the fourth is, how do you actually drive profitability to the other things that we're doing, the other kind of Lego block components that the independent brokers don't have access to?
Our passion for this business, my passion for this business, now nearly 20 years into it, has never been stronger. It's been completely revamped, completely re-energized.
So once we got the brand and the model working together, now we have what we call a platform of possibilities. An independent brokerage can say, hey, the two things that I hold really near and dear to me from a friction perspective are to keep my brand that I built for so long and integrate my model really well. When those two happen, you take away like 80% of friction. And now the broker owners are more open to thinking about, okay, I think I can navigate this transition.
It would be one thing to just say, hey, I'm more excited about this business than ever. But there's some true tangible things to this as well. Our cash flow as a business is better than ever. And what this allows us to do, and we're doing it right now, is reinvesting into Redline as a whole. We're reinvesting to the agent body that trusted us in the beginning to leapfrog and take advantage of the evolving industry we're in, to give them, our agents, an unfair advantage, which then allows them to impact more clients and to set up a better life for themselves. Again, all thanks to this positioning and being powered by Real Broker.
And since we've done it multiple times, we've learned every single time. And so it's tweaking, learning. It's a learning algorithm for us.
Right. Tell us about Dale and Nigel.
Nigel Nolan, I'm in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Dale Nolan, I'm in Brandon, Manitoba.
Father-son team out in Manitoba. When we connected, it was actually through an online connection. We connected on Instagram. And I found out he was exploring Real Broker for quite some time.
I've been in the business 9 years. My dad's been in the business
20 years.
20 years.
20 years now.
And we opened up our own brokerage 9 years ago.
And we're selling in two different markets. So again, complex little organization, 10 to 15 agents, and had seen some success. And you guys made some waves. You guys, you had some success. I think I remember when we first started talking, it was, maybe I'm wrong, but 300 to 400 ends a year we're trading through your firm. That's not a small volume of deals. So things were going right. But it's not always what it seems like on the outside, right? Running an independent or running a franchise brokerage is a lot of work, right? Because you came from a production background, right? And selling real estate, and you're marketing, which means I can drive more production. And here you are running this business. Tell me about that experience.
Well, it was good, except that as time progresses, you start, looking at exit plans. You start thinking about transitioning, and certainly I had to at my age. And you start thinking about the whole picture of running an independent brokerage and what all it takes.
Yeah, for sure. And you end up wearing a lot of hats too, right? I mean, you have to learn a new set of skills, and that generally wasn't why you probably started that in the first place, but you have no choice but to deal with it. You run into scale problems, you run into capital resource problems, you run into retention problems, because as we know, again, the grass is greener for most agents, right? Why not try this, then try that? And again, in a small market and a big market, it's a hard thing to try to do. We started talking because, of course, the journey towards Real was going towards your province. So the concept of being a part of the launch of Real Broker in Manitoba was really interesting for them. What about that concept of leaving the independents and joining this publicly traded entity was it appealing to you?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it was quite appealing. I had kind of been following what's going on in the space with that for some time. So I personally believe there was a big opportunity there.
Yeah, so I mean, you saw this again as a different way. You said you're at the end of your career. You're saying, I'm looking to transition. Our brokerage is really selling today, or can I do a different way to build my legacy, to have my legacy move on? And
yeah, I think so. I think it was a combination of two things, but I think really when you see the opportunity that Real presented and getting in somewhat at the ground level in Canada was attractive. Our perception of what the culture was like was positive. And so there were a lot of reasons to take a serious look at going in that direction.
I remember them giving me the call and saying, we're in Darren. What are those next steps?
To switch from an agent-centric model to an entrepreneur-centric model was the most powerful switch, because at the agent level, they're all entrepreneurs. But at the broker owner level, you're truly an entrepreneur.
So who's Brett?
Who is Brett?
My name is Brett Turner. I am the co-founder of Redline Real Estate Group, and my market is Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Right, Brett, who I've mentioned, is my business partner. Business partner since 2005, and I've known him since grade 7.
Back a long way, yeah.
All right. Brett, unfortunately, got the short end of the stick, because when we were building out Redline, he chose to become the broker. So the broker is a little different than being, say, my world chief strategist. The broker requires a lot of behind the scenes work, not a lot of the front of the screen accolades, and most of all the problems that go with growing a brokerage. So that's Brett. Can you think back to those days, like why we chose to take that path?
We wanted control over our marketing and our own systems, and our own model. We found at that time that our entrepreneurial vision didn't fit in well with any of the established brokerages in our market. But we were keen enough to do real estate, and we thought that we could build our own model and our own brokerage and our business within that better than we could to try and fit into somebody else's framework.
So thinking back through that, we spent a full 13 years as an independent brokerage, where at one point it was just to serve our own needs, right? To serve our own needs as producers and to sell real estate. But we ended up wearing a lot of different hats. Can you walk us through all of the layers of what it was to like run an independent brokerage?
Yeah, I mean, I like to think of it that we spent a little bit of time on every rung in the ladder in the real estate brokerage business, from being solo producers to a small team to a small independent brokerage, to then taking a run at the conventional brokerage space. So personally, I felt that, you and I have always challenged ourselves to do something better and more profound within the industry. And we liked the challenge of sort of leveling up ourselves as we built our experience and our network.
So we hit a few milestones too, right? In our market, at one point we were top 10 production out of all the big firms that we were competing against. We went from 10 or 12 agents as an indie team brokerage to over 100. So you would say from the outside looking in that we surmounted a few mountains where others just never could get to. Yet, it was difficult to run this business, wasn't it? It was difficult to see like this huge light at the end of this tunnel. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we have always challenged ourselves to be good. Whatever space that we were competing in, just being normal, I don't think was something that you or I were ever okay with. And so that drive to succeed, I think, has followed us throughout our careers.
But yet, it did feel like we got to this point that it was hard to grow past. Can you kind of talk through that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. At one point, we actually had 2 brokerages in different provinces. We envisioned scaling beyond just the Calgary market. But we got to a certain size where it became a real challenge to satisfy the needs of the agents that we had within our agent ecosystem. We had some small teams, some bigger teams, some partnerships and individual agents that were progressing towards, their next level of entrepreneurialism within our brokerage model. And we were facing some retention issues within all of that. And as we kind of grew in size, we eventually found ourselves at a fork in the road where it would require a real sort of significant input of efforts and capital to carry our agent body forward. We would have needed to make significant investments in technology and other things in order to compete with the brokerage space the way it was evolving. That led to a challenging time and a challenging decision for us.
Brett and I together marched and figured this out. But like others, we had the same pitfalls. So then came the opportunity for this cloud-based model that was coming our way. And you and I went back and forth on this for a good part of half of a year before we even brought it to some of our agents to discuss.
So once you take their minds away from what am I giving up, and you actually explain to them, yes, you might be giving up this, but look at all of those things that you will be gaining, and we will take away some of the liability from you, some of the operations from you, then it starts to make sense for them. But I think that it's kind of it's a psychological evolution that people have to go through.
And then eventually we came to the decision that we were moving ahead. How do you see things today?
Well, two things. Don't be afraid. The fear factor of change is a natural response to anything this big, especially when it's a business you've been building your whole career. But it was a little uncertain, but then has turned into probably one of the best decisions that we've ever made along our real estate journey here.
And we said there's kind of like two mountains we're going to be climbing. One of them is the mountain that we're on right now, which is how hard is it going to be to maintain this pace, stay where we are, add, like you said, technology, keep retention, all by ourselves with our little pocketbooks and watching the industry evolve. That's one big mountain to climb. And do I want to climb that? And the other one was, okay, there's a new mountain, right? Coming over to Real Broker in our case, and we were going to lose some compensation, but we were going to build and climb, and which mountain was more exciting, which one was bigger, which one had more possibilities. And
I certainly think that you would be doing yourself a disservice as a young broker or a broker at any level if you didn't contemplate a move like this, given where the industry is going. I have a whole new energy for the business now that I didn't have when our brokerage was really big and we had a lot of the pressures that an independent brokerage has. Now I get to be on the offense with our agents, helping them build their businesses, helping them market themselves and grow their own businesses inside Real Broker, and I find it to be a much happier place to be and a much better business for us.
Yeah, I'll give you an example around this. I ran an Indy, so I know this firsthand. And I don't know if you remember this, I had a conversation with Tamir and I said, man, we went from one office and like 15 agents to 22 offices, 700 plus agents. And we were at a point where, at that point, we had a choice to make. We had two mountains as well. One mountain was, hey, we're gonna go either raise money or find get some capital infusion to go national, or we had to kind of merge or, kind of partner with the strategic. And that point is a very interesting point. I was like, man, if I had that point again in my life, and that was today, wouldn't it be amazing to be with Real?
Richard. Tell us about Richard.
Richard. Oh man, this guy. All right, we are rolling.
Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Richard Matoku. I'm originally from Nigeria. My country of origin is Nigeria. I moved to Canada in 2015.
Amazing.
As a student.
I was introduced to Richard actually through my business partner, Brett. Brett reached out to Richard because he knew as a broker owner, Brett being the prior broker owner, that Richard, as he was scaling, we were watching him grow. We knew he was going to be running into some of the same pain points we did and stumbling forward, but we were seeing him grow fast, which was really nice to see.
I became a broker exactly 2 years. About 2 years after I got licensed, and that was because I wanted the freedom, the independence, of a broker.
But then tell me about the journey when you're an independent broker owner, coming into this business, and then it's a little different, right? Running your own thing rather than just being licensed at somewhere else is a whole different journey.
My infrastructure had to grow, so my original plan, I had to adjust it. I was carrying on way more costs now because the team was growing. And, by the time we were 9 months, we were about 18 agents, right? So the struggle was different. I was training these agents, I was supporting the agents, I was doing compliance, conveyance, time for audit, it was me. And I was still actively trading real estate personally. So it took a toll on me and my family, to be honest.
Brett, being the amazing dude he is, he just reached out to Richard to say, hey man, can I help you? Because I know you're going to be probably going through your first audit. You're going to be going through a lot of that fiduciary trust regulation troubles that come with running a brokerage in your first year. And Richard was open-minded to that conversation.
That made me to look for solutions. But the solution was right there, to be honest, because Brett, your partner, reached out to me early in the process when I was a broker, to offer me help, support, to say, hey, I have done this before. If you have any issues, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help. But never told me anything about Real, like wanting to come to Real.
And after some time, he realized that to take his vision forward, to take it farther than he ever could before, Real Broker was going to be the fit for him.
And that was what made me to make that move to Real, which, like I said, it's been a blessing, to be honest.
Tell us about Tamir.
Tamir. Tamir is a special man. I was introduced to Tamir. This is going end of July, maybe early August 2021. And at that point, he was the leader of the company. He was our co-founder and the CEO at that point. The company was about 2,600 agents. And at that point, I remember more than anything, because there was a lot maybe undeveloped yet to the business. I remember it almost felt like there was a lot of vision, there was a lot of heart, but there was this quiet confidence about him. He knew he was going to pull it off. And here I am as an independent owner thinking, there's a lot of promise here. There's a lot of could be's, but yet there wasn't a lot fully developed out. But yet he had this quiet confidence. There was no angst. There was no pitch. There was just this, he was incredibly comfortable in what they were about to do with Real Broker. And it's almost like he could foresee what was going to happen.
I think that if you're a broker owner at this point in time and you're really being strategic about your business and trying to be smart, I think that having a conversation and understanding your options is a must. Because, maybe the best path for you is continuing on your own for the next couple of decades, but you have to be mindful of what's out there. And maybe there's a better opportunity. And I think that if you try to read the strategic, map of everything that's going on, there are a lot of risks out there for small independent brokerages. So I think that you at least have to have an alternative plan in case of, okay, if this happens, this is what I'm going to do. And we'll be happy to have that call.
It was going to take a lot for me to be convinced to shut this baby down, to shut down 13 years of independent brokerage, to shut down the idea that I could monetize this, sell it maybe. But something about that conversation, again via Zoom with Tamir that month, made me feel okay about it. Made me feel that I wanted to be in partnership with him.
How about Sharon?
Well, Sharon, funny enough, came to the table later. I was being coached under the Tom Ferry organization, and Sharon had been brought in to work with us team leaders to give another insight, because he was growing his own independent brokerage, TELUS properties across kind of all the luxury divisions of California. So again, what we were watching him do was incredible, and he was starting to become that kind of new voice among North American real estate, and you couldn't help but take notice. That's when I first got introduced to him.
I think Tamir hit it on the head. I'm a big fan of model discovery.
So when he joined, this is about a year and a bit into the company for us, it completely solidified the fact that I knew I had made the right choice and that Real Broker was in incredible hands and better than ever before.
And I think today is a great time where no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, it's very easy to say, well, that's not for me. But I would offer to saying, hey, what does this model offer? And I would offer the thinking around, can I have my cake and eat it too? And when you came on, we couldn't do that. And you still took the risk and you made it work and you're thriving right now. But I want to congratulate and celebrate you because you paved the way, like Redline paved the way for us to be able to say, what would be a better opportunity for independents coming over? And you took the risk to make this a much better opportunity for everyone else. And that is we should celebrate you for that. It's a super, super powerful thing. And so can people have their cake and eat it too? And I think they can. And that starts with the conversation.
Well, thank you for that. Yes, we believe we've got our cake and we're eating it too right now. I think by now you get a sense from me, but also hopefully from those other 5 I had a chance to interview. And now going on, probably over 100 independent broker owners have transitioned to Real Broker now. One key element that they all had is that, like they were once when they formed their companies, they were open-minded to a change and to try something new, just like back then. That's the common theme among everybody I've had a chance to speak to. That open-mindedness to say, well, what could be? And that's what I would challenge you. If If you're listening to this and you've come this far, and if any of what we share resonates with you, is hold on to that, open up to that open-mindedness so that we can unpack potentially how your journey can evolve like it did ours. Every one of us was limited in some way. We wanted to challenge the status quo. We wanted to do our own thing, but we were limited. Maybe limited in skills, maybe limited in budget, maybe limited in support, maybe limited in all of it. Partnering with a company like Real Broker, being a part of this platform, being part of this energy, being part of what they provide, kind of takes that ceiling off. It gives you that limitless feeling as an entrepreneur in this business. To remove the shackles that are now on you as a business owner, it's like the weight is lifted. You can see it in the sparkle in all of their eyes. You can see it if you have a chance to speak with others. The spark means a lot of things. The spark might mean they're making more money. The spark might mean they're connecting and collaborating with people they never thought they would otherwise, because as an independent, as a franchise owner, what are you? You're in your little silo every day. You're competing against the rest. But I think what you really wanted was that collaboration once again, to use each other's strengths, to learn from other people, and to allow it to be the kind of the propellant to your business growth too. So if you're an independent owner watching this and you're doing it just for yourself, I get it. Maybe you wanted to grow and you're half a dozen to a dozen agents. Maybe you've seen some substantial success and you're seeing that you're maybe 30, 40, 50 agents, kind of like the average franchise is across North America. Or if you're one of those who are of the very few that has been able to open multiple offices in multiple states and provinces, and are having what, from the outside looking in, is incredible success run. I guess I just challenge you to say, is this it? Or could there be more? Could there be more, just like you had that thought once upon a time? And maybe reach out and have this conversation to see how Real Broker could provide you that runway, that platform, the things that you don't have, as it did for so many and continues to do so for so many of us all across North America. See, for me, where it was once more of like a vision in that conversation with Tamir, with very little proof, has now become a complete body of proof, where all of us believe in every single promise that continues to be rolled forward for us as partners in the company. All of us are aligned together to pull this off together. No longer are we alone. No longer are we limited by our own resources. And all of us are seeing, believing, and experiencing more in this business than we ever could before.